Welcome everybody to another ShawnSetGO video. Today we're going to be talking about a little bit of a spoiler. So if you're not a fan of upcoming news or changing news, is not story related, but just upcoming content in the War Within. Of course, when it comes to content in the War Within and upcoming content, I always kind of add a little disclaimer and say that, you know, whether we may criticize and talk about the positives and negatives, you know, how they're going to influence our decision making in the future. I always kind of say, try to look at the bright side of what it could possibly be, and then the negatives of what it could bring as well. This is something that's not fully confirmed yet, but it is what it is. So what I'm talking about, and I've given you enough time to stray away from this video if you haven't already. This is talking about the Gilded Undermine Crests. So coming with upcoming content we're going to expect to be seeing soon. There was some news that came along, and the news said weekly cap of 18 Gilded Crests from tier 11 Delves in season 2. It says Gilded Undermine Crest used to upgrade hero and myth gear in War Within season 2 up to item levels 662 and above. Earned from the following activities: Mythic Liberation of Undermine, Mythic Keystone Dungeons 8+ and up, and then Delves Gilded Stash 11, and then tier 8 and up, or Delver's Bounty tier 8 and up. So there's some obvious things that, you know, cause some red flags. I think mainly being with that, I mean, the fact that it's in Delves to begin with is wild. But there's some more information for those of you who aren't sure, because I wasn't sure what exactly this meant. This says that's 20% of week 1 overall cap of 90. I think general consensus will be that this is too low, but as an alternative method to get the highest end gear solo with relative great ease, it makes sense to me. Yeah, so I think this is the first thing that I wanted to talk about. I think that you might look at this and go that, well, this is very low amounts for a week, and when you think about it, yes, if you solely play Delves, then this isn't a great amount. This is low. This is quite low. However, this is also a vast upgrade from kind of this semi consideration we've had for Delves so far, where it's like you can tell when someone's been in Delve gear, but at least it's in a low enough mythics to where either one, they filter themselves out due to lack of experience, or it's very obvious to tell. So it's kind of like there's already a sea of people at those lower levels, so it's not too hard to find somebody else. As you get to these higher keys, it gets harder to find people. So I mean, if we're gonna think about a positive of what this means, is that if someone is trying to reach from Delves into high keys and higher stuff, you have two groups of people that I think could exist. One is people who solely play Delves, jumping into Mythic Plus content, and then the second one, which is people who go from Delves and have no desire to do Mythic Plus content. They just simply have a route to get higher item level gear. I wouldn't know to what end. I mean, if the goal is just 11s, is very doable with the current state. Making those easier, I suppose, is a thing. It does make me kind of concerned that the idea with this is that they're going to make Delves infinitely scalable, in that they're going to continue adding levels to match the item level gearing. For whatever reason, if that's the case, it doesn't never really matter what the item level was, unless they add another timer, make Delves timers, solo timers or something. I don't know. Maybe it's like a way for them to like field test it in a way, and have like a controlled area where it can operate. But for me, it's kind of confusing what they're trying to do with this. It's like, why are you trying to increase item levels in such a way to where now they're having gear that can not only combat with early Mythic Plus gearing, but also into like higher Mythic keys. That's kind of wild to me. That seems like a weird way to scale it. I thought they were going to scale. I thought the best way to scale it personally was to scale them on different means, meaning that when you're scaling for Delves, you're scaling for different stats. So it's a different gear set for what you would do in Mythics, or it would just simply stop at the item levels, which seemed like the one that was happening. Personally, I think the former would be better, which is basically you have a set you have for PvP, you have a set you have for Mythics and raiding, or a set for Mythics and then sort of raiding. You can kind of combine the two. They sort of overlap a bit, and then you create a third overlap with something like Delves. And what I mean is, like, this is going to be the rare times that I pull out the paint. The way I thought they were going to do is something like this. So where you have Mythic Plus, gearing, and rating. I would say, even though I've made these kind of like small, this overlap is actually quite big. But I think the statting that you're trying to shoot for is almost quite the same. There are some more optimal piecing that you can get, but it doesn't matter a huge amount. Even in the new ring that you can get, you change like one gem, and then that's it. It's not really a big amount. And so with the addition of now Delves, it would make sense to, for example, where in Mythic Plus you would have you would still have some survivability. Wow, this is going terribly. You would still have some survivability, but not as much as you would need in Delves. You could have better statting. It's hard for me to word this 100% like I want to, but my idea is basically that Delves has priority stats that don't belong in Mythics. Mythics have stats that don't necessarily go in rating. For example, whereas I will get in Mythics, I will get much more self-sustain, whereas in raiding I don't, just because I have dedicated healers in a raid as a prot warrior. Whereas in Mythic, you still want a certain degree of self-reliance. Now in Delves, it's a lot more self-reliance, so I would think a different gear set would be the way. And then right where this overlap is essentially where that gearing bridges you to the other side. Should there be as much overlap with Delves with Mythic and into raiding as well? I don't think so. I think it should be a very thin line. Just because what your goals are entirely different in a Delve. I don't think those should translate, because I think that it kind of blurs the lines and it creates this sort of situation where people are in spaces where they don't know what they're doing. So that's my reasoning behind that and why I don't necessarily like this idea. I know it's a long-winded way of saying it, but I hope that came through in some sort of way. Let's look at more of the comments here. Says an important point, or sorry, honestly, as the long-time CE raider and someone who hates doing Delves, I don't see any issue with letting people just go to a weekly cap by doing Delves. It's not like you can just spam keys to get there anyway. It's not like 8s are actually that hard. Limiting those crests so low doesn't make any sense, and at least limit it to the same number you get out of the raid. I kind of disagree with this. I think that 8s very much do have a challenge attached to it. Now, if you're playing DPS, sure, yeah, not a problem, easy peasy. But I mean, we're talking about tanks, healers, and I don't see anybody doing Delves. I say rarely see, anyways, anybody tanking. Sometimes you get more healers just because you get a lot of people who just want chill in that content, and heal for people in very like laid back situations. But I mean, this is a very small microcosm of people who just play DPS and they're part of a group and have very limited to low responsibility, and being like, oh yeah, I don't see a problem with giving people this gear. It's like, well, I mean, yeah, as a DPS maybe, but it doesn't really make sense as anybody who has any responsibilities, in my opinion. This is not the gatekeep either. I don't think so. It's quite funny seeing people seethe over the solo players being able to get it themselves and enjoy the game. So many solo players are enjoying WoW, now are experiencing the World of Azeroth, yet Redditors and our elitist mauled because no, you have to endure the mandatory Mythic LFG suffering because you just have to, okay? I don't think that's what's happening. In fact, a lot of people... I've never seen that on Reddit. I've literally never seen that on Reddit, and I've been habitually in a career fashion on Reddit, on WoW Reddit. It's not been that way. It really hasn't. If anything, it's been hyper positivity over solos and delves and scaling delve content in this, like in the same, like in it, like literally alongside mythic gearing, if not to an equal level, like trying to get it to an equal level, which seems like what this is getting at. Or being like, we don't want to do mythics, we're not going to do mythics. I don't think mythics want people who play delves in the mythics. It's not that people are like, oh, you have to suffer with us. It's like, please don't come into mythics. You're not ready. Delves don't prepare you for mythics, and make you a burden in mythics. So it really isn't that people who play, I say we, that people who play mythics just go, okay, people who delve, you have to do what we do exactly as we do it. It's that you're getting the gearing that's putting your ego far beyond what it deserves, and you can get away with it quite a long time as a DPS, and maybe that'll work for you. But once you do hit, I feel like 8s. Everyone always, oh yeah, 10s are like just a breeze. Sure, okay, let's be realistic. A bad DPS can kill a mythic 3, mythic 5. 8s sounds a bit wild to me. 8s can be 10s. 8s are not entry level either. So if you're doing only delves and then you jump into an 8, that's wild to me. So I feel like people who do delves are kind of missing the point here entirely. That's fine if they don't cap it. People will know life and just like with AP and the MOV sold back in Legion, and it'll kill crest because people will complain. Yeah, I can agree. So like, I mean, like this is the one of those silver linings. I can agree that one of the bigger flaws about this is the cap. Caps just this seems so silly to me. Let people do what they're gonna do. Either the grind isn't worth it and people aren't gonna grind above a cap, or it is and people do it, and who cares? Now I understand like spacing it out, you know, when something's early release, you know, you want to slow things down so you can see how things progress, see how long it takes someone to full gear, like the average player to full gear. But you know, after so long, I mean, there's no point to limiting these things. So I'm okay with a cap, I guess, in the beginning, but I think this is something that we should teetered off over time. It just seems silly to keep it on for later on. So if you're looking at a summary of the points, basically with tier 8 delves, bounties, and up, and the delves gilded stash, tier 11s, you will be able to get the Gilded Undermine Crests, which does have a cap right now, but my opinions of it is that gearing is trying to be an alternate route to Mythic and arguably rating gearing. And I don't think that should be the case. I think Delve should be its own gearing because I think the statting is different. What your goals are different. Set bonuses should be different just because your goals are different, just like in PvP. So I do think that that should be like the delineation between what we're getting and what we should be achieving later on. That's just my recommendation for it, though. And then I think the misconception by Delvers is that Mythic Plus players want you to suffer with them. No, it's that you come into a Mythic and you kind of kill a Mythic, or you're doing a third of the DPS. And it's not about you have to play my way or you have to suffer my way. It's that your way that you're doing it is actively making my experience worse. So if we're going to be honest and we're going to try to merge these two things, then make these separations clear or make delves harder. Make like a tier 11 delve, like equal to, like a Mythic 3, a Mythic 5, or go higher and just make those equal a Mythic in difficulty. Because right now delves, like even at tier 11s, it's just amped up health and one shots, and then still classic mechanics though. Like it's very much very few things that you actually need to do. It's quite easy. I just did a few very high delves and I got compliments and I was just like, I was sleeping. Like I was so that's all I have for that. Sorry for this semi spoiler news content. It kind of was, I guess, in a way. We could have expected something like this. I think we've seen this coming for quite some time. So hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this was helpful for you in some way. What are your thoughts on ways that we can make the Delve experience and the Mythic experience either merge in some way or separate in some way? That way we can stop having these butting of heads between Mythic players and Delvers. It just seems counterproductive altogether. What is the way to make this happen? Let me know in the comments. But of course, if you liked the video, give it a like, subscribe to the page while you're at it. Of course, we started streaming on YouTube live recently, and you can check out the live. Hopefully it'll be posted after the live is done. But we also do stream on twitch.tv/ShawnSetGO. And we do have a Discord community, the Turtle Club. If you'd like to join, share WoW content, talk about WoW content, and give any recommendations for future videos that we might make. But until next time, I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.